but that one dungeon, the Exodus of the Storm Queen, the raid damage got nerfed a lot on the last boss.
Yeah,
And,
if you... Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say that, yeah, it got nerfed a lot, and it's anyone could like a bard solo healed it, for example, which is stupid. Like a bard should not be able to solo heal a level 52 dungeon when I'm level 50.
Yeah, well, if you level up in the beta and go to all the different dungeons, you can literally do like a whole dungeon without ever casting an AoE heal. So if they like have the same sort of thing in a raid, then we'll see how much AoE healing there actually is in raids, I suppose. If they're going with that,
I don't know. I have no idea what their point is. Like, what is the point? Like, it's making it. I don't get it. I just don't get it. And granted,
Are they
player,
trying to get rid of mechanics like subjugation or something? I mean, I don't really know the history behind these healing nerfs. I logged on to beta day one, did Exodus of the Storm Queen, said this is a waste of time, and logged off and uninstalled beta. So I really don't know what's going on behind the scenes.
Well, the first time I did it, the last boss was that AoE damage he cast was pretty intense.
It hit hard, but I did it in a pug, so that's all I have to say.
Well, did you have any level 60 healers?
Nope, we were all level 50. I don't even think we had anyone above 51. It was the first day.
Yeah, at that point, I think it was hitting me for like 2,500-ish. And then this past week, it was hitting me for 1,500-ish, which is a huge nerf. I mean, a bard solo healed it. I know they're trying to make stuff easier, but...
Well, I mean, I think the devs just said in an interview at the end of ID that they never really felt like they can create an encounter where AoE raid damage was significantly dangerous for the raid. And I think this is sort of their answer to that, right? So they got rid of DOL very quickly early on in beta. So like the first beta that everybody went into, there was 700 posts about Death of Centaur and blah, blah, blah. You can never AoE heal anymore. There's no spam healing. But, you know, obviously it really, like from a game design standpoint, it's not important what your AoE heal hits for, right? It just is, you know, what HPS does that put out relative to incoming raid DPS AoE? And I think they found that, you know, they thought they would just nerf it and everything would be fine, but they found that it's almost impossible to deal with, you know, live levels of AoE damage with the AoE healing they have in beta. So then they're like, well, I guess we have to nerf the incoming AoE damage as well. And so they just found a new balance that happens to be very low compared to player health pools. Like you said, you know, at level 60, you have, you know, over 10,000 health and you're getting hit for 2k on AoE. So you do not need to be healed through that. So I think that was somewhat of a mistake on their part.
Yeah.
And going back to like how AoE healing works in raids and parties and everything, I can tell you that in the expert we've done on level 60, it's not that easy, especially now that the AoE nerfs, and there are mechanics that damage the raid. Mostly it's tank damage that's hard, but there's still some AoEs that one healer has to heal up, which obviously makes the tank die if he heals it. So some of the fights you actually have to have a bard or another support healer to actually make at the moment, and that's that's actually when out gearing it. So it's not going to be easy, but the expert dungeons are much shorter now. So
I think they're trying to find a balance between the shielding changes. So basically, I think they want to have half of the healing being replaced by shielding. Also, to avoid having the AoE healers being sufficient to heal the main tanks. Because I don't know if you guys have noticed, but you can actually bring 2 AoE Chloros on Hardmon Maclamos and they can heal the tank without any help, just 2 AoE healers, just 2 AoE Chloros. That's like...
Yeah, I didn't know that, but that's kind of OP.
We haven't done hard mode in quite a while. So.
Yeah, we're just in there trying to get everything done as fast as possible because we don't care right now.
I think the changes though will just help you figure out which raiders in your raid are bad at standing and stuff. Because I mean, I'm sure they'll move to that sort of mechanic. It's like that a little bit in the experts. There's some unavoidable damage, but a lot of it, the AoE damage is avoidable if you move and do intelligent things. So that can be good or bad. I mean, it's good for us because that's challenging. It's bad for general pugs because that will not happen. So we'll see what happens in total.
Now that's a good point because I didn't think about that. Nerf AoE damage from the boss, but make the mechanics make up for the added nerf that you just brought down, and that could be really good if they actually implement it that way, because that would make for more aware raiders, and you could separate the shitty ones from the good ones very, very quick.
Well, it's like Carlsberg said. I mean, the level 60 experts don't mess around. Like, they are definitely far more difficult than any of the experts on live, and they have shades of experts at the beginning of this game, if
Really,
anyone
that's
remembers
exciting.
that. So, I mean, it's not like, it's, oh my God, 10 hours to clear kind of thing, but, it's challenging, which is good. And I think that the AoE nerfs will surprise people and, make them play a little bit more actively than they were before. So like Yobi was saying, you can usually just chloro spam your way through things, and that's, more of a challenge in these experts. So hopefully that continues.
Yeah, I mean, experts pretty much could use a cleric tank to heal the raid before, just use some cooldowns to heal yourself. Wasn't really that hard. You can even do master modes with a cabbie card, and yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm sure that eventually we'll get to the point where we're going into these dungeons, overgeared as hell, roided out, and we'll be able to do that again. But I'm kind of glad that we won't be able to do that at level 60 for the experts.
Let's just hope that too many people don't bitch and go, "Wah, Trion, this is too fucking hard because I don't have full relic gear and people to carry me through it," and then they just give in and
Well,
nerf it like they already did.
people were doing that for the regular T2s back before they nerfed them, but they were going to nerf them anyways, and people they did not buckle under the pressure too soon. Like, they did it at the exact time where they needed to nerf T2s, because I remember people bitching about it like literally the first time they went into it, and I mean, it took them quite a while before they they brought the hammer down, but they're going to do that too. Don't kid yourself. They're going to nerf stuff. Like, that's just how it goes.
Their nerf schedule on ID was really good, though. I mean, I don't know, maybe you guys disagree, but like the nerf timing on ID was pretty good.
And I was in 2 guilds before I came to No Quarter that ended up breaking up, and I can tell you right now that encounters being too hard did not go into account when these guilds broke up at all. It had nothing to do with encounter difficulty. So I think it was pretty good. I mean, they left Lathis pretty much untouched for quite a while, which I was pretty happy about.
I think everyone in every guild in this podcast, right, killed Lathis after the only nerf, which was the sort of semi-impossible at the
Make
time
it
9
killable.
minutes achievement, or 9 minute enrage, right? So, I mean, the killable nerf goes down, and then maybe 7 guilds kill it, and then that gets nerfed, and then it gets open to a wider rating population. So if you have a small number of guilds that kill it with the first nerf, and then double that number kill it with the second, and so on and so forth, then I think you're on a good schedule.
Yeah, you really saw some guilds that were the good guilds and the bad guilds come out, and I mean, you saw even some new guilds that I'd never heard about before, be up there top 20, top 30. I'm just the only thing that disappointed me in ID was how anticlimactic Melforge was. It's a long fight, but it was never really a challenge.
It wasn't even really that long when you compare it to Achilles. Only half the duration.
Yeah.
Achilles is just demoralizing, though. A 19-minute fight, basically, and if you wipe in minute 17,
well,
like that's punishing beyond.
That's what happened
hardcore.
to Breaking Bad's. We got a 2% wipe and then couldn't raid for 4 more days and lost 3 ranks because of it, and because it was such a long fight. So I think they're trying to, avoid 20-minute fights, which is not a bad idea on their part. I can't really disagree with that.
Yeah.
5 attempts and then, raid's over, guys, is not a very good boss.
Yeah. Now, I don't know, like Trinity or SO, have you guys actually done the 10-man that was in open beta this past?
Yeah, I've done it.
What do you guys think about it?
How many mustaches out of 5 do you give it?
I give it a 4. It was kind of, some of the bosses in there was kind of fun, but I mean, it's definitely harder than most of the other 10-mans I've done before. But that could just be because it was kind of new, and I found Primeval Feast was really easy. Didn't really do the Gilded Prophecy and Round Halls when they were like released, so don't know. But yeah, it was a decent.
I mean, I
Decent
would
fight.
probably, yeah, I would definitely agree. Like, I would say that it, difficulty-wise, it's not going to be super hard, but mechanics-wise and the way they've laid things out, like, I think the 10 of us that did it when we killed it basically said that was some of the last 2 bosses were some of the most fun we've had in this game in quite some time. So, I mean, it was relatively easy to understand, but just the implementation of the mechanics was just fun to play, and I think that's something a lot of people will enjoy. So it's like by far and away the best 10-man in the game right now. Well, in the open beta game, and I think it'll be somewhat pug friendly after a while, but I think people will really like it.
Now, what kind of bosses were in there? Because I didn't have a chance to go in there, but
Well, did they do a live stream of this 10-man? Or I mean, it was accessible in open beta, right? If you zoned in.
yeah, I mean, it was in the email. That's how I know it was open. But I
They
don't
had,
know.
It was accessible, so yeah.
Okay.
Well, it
Yeah.
was yeah. I mean, there's 4 bosses in there, and some you've seen before, and some you haven't. So Joltharin is in there. Cyril is in there. And then I'm not a big lore junkie, so like maybe I'll get a bunch of like Feyblight hate tells right now. But I don't think we know much about the first boss and the last boss. I don't know. I don't really read the lore. I click those quests quickly.
Did you
just
say
try
the
and collect
first boss was Joltharin?
No, Joltharin is the 3rd boss.
Oh, okay. Because I was gonna say, isn't he the guy talking to like the final boss, or like Jornaru or
Yeah,
something?
he's in Charmer's
He's in,
Caldera.
like, yeah, he was
Yeah,
doing
yeah,
something.
he's in Charmer. And then yeah, Cyril is in there, and you fight them. And I think some of the mechanics are pretty new. I think it's a good training wheels, right? And I think there are a couple new things that so they implemented a couple new mechanics. Like, I'm not going to give spoiler alerts for guilds that want to figure it out for themselves. But the thing I like about it is it's a good demonstration of some of the mechanics that Tryon has in their locker now and can implement in new ways, new ways moving forward. And it's like, the fights are pretty dynamic. There's movement in a good bit of them, and it's not all tank and spank. There's some of that, but it's I think people like those new mechanics.
This, I guess this isn't a bad time to say that since you brought up mechanics. I asked for questions earlier, and I got one good one. Morsius asked, what are some mechanics you guys would never want to see again? And then I thought to add in what were some of your favorite mechanics that you wouldn't really mind for them to, bring back in, if you think that's, might make a decent discussion, since, we've already gone over most of the topics.
Well, there's gonna be at least one fight with waves. Like, that's trying.
There will be waves.
There's gonna be at least one fight with waves.
No, wait,
Electricity
they're
waves.
gonna be Crucia tornadoes.
Crucia tornadoes and waves. Yep, that's a given. Like, you can already write up a guide about Crucia.
Any input?
Feedback, I'd say. I don't want to see feedback as a mage.
Oh, feedback.
Drives
Yeah.
me mad.
I don't want to see any mechanics that you gotta stop DPS on the boss. Like,
Well, talking about the waves, I mean, you mentioned Joltharin, and we can basically, bring it out of CC and say that there is the same mechanics. I mean, they did it with Conclave. It's basically the same mechanics, just increased for raid difficulty. That there are a style of waves where there is a linear path coming towards you, and it's basically just rewashed mechanics, just increased for difficulty of raids, 10-mans and 20s. I found them. We did get a 10-man group in there for the open beta weekend because we don't have that many testers. And I found that most of the mechanics in the 10-man were broken, and I don't think it's totally fixed. I don't know if they're broken or if it's just really easy. But I think when RTP was released, that Siljan had a check that most guilds wouldn't beat. I didn't see anything in this 10-man that would even resemble that.
I think the release timing is different though, right? Because ROTP came out post Hammer now,